Kelly Damalas, and I'm a high school science teacher. Today's video is going to be part of a mini-series that I'm going to do about how to use Google Slides to do interactive activities with your students. So this video today is the first one of the series, and I'm going to show you how you can use Google Slides to make interactive worksheets. I've been using Google Slides to make worksheets in past years, and because of this year being a hybrid learning model at my high school, I had to take everything that I had and turn it into interactive activities that students could do at home. So I'm going to show you step by step how to take a Google Slide and how to use that to take a worksheet or a template for a worksheet that you already have and make it so students can interact with it right within Google Slides. So I'm going to show you how to take a simple Google Slides presentation and turn it into an interactive digital worksheet. So when you open up a blank Google Slide presentation, this is the screen that you'd see. So it gives you theme options, which I almost never use them, so I like to just X out of the themes. And based on the theme that my presentation is currently in, it puts in these text boxes. So I want to just delete them, because I personally like a blank canvas to start with, and I'm not making a presentation, I'm making a worksheet. So now that I have a nice blank canvas, what I like to do is resize the slide in order to make it fit more like a piece of paper. So what I like to do is fit this to be an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. That way, if I am going to print this document out, it would nicely fit on a piece of paper. So to change the size of your slide, you're going to go up to File, and you're going to scroll down to where it says Page Setup. This will allow you to resize your document. So currently it's in the widescreen format, which is more of what you want if you're giving a presentation. So I don't want it on widescreen. I want to do a custom size. So I'm going to click Custom. And then mine is set to inches in the custom size settings. You could change your page setup based on centimeters. If you knew that you had to change it to be a certain pixel size, you could do that as well. I want to use inches because I know that a sheet of paper is 8.5 by 11 inches. So I'm just going to change these values to fit the 8.5 by 11. And I'm going to hit Apply. And you see that it resized it, so now it looks like a sheet of paper. It's zoomed out, so you can see the whole sheet of paper at once. So this gives you more power than if you were using Google Docs. Google Docs is nice if you want to type an essay, but if you're trying to make an interactive worksheet, there are more tools to make that sheet be interactive within Google Slide. So if you were to zoom out of your Google Doc to see the whole page, it would look like this. If I want to zoom it in so it looks more like you're looking at a Google Doc, I could zoom it into 100%, and now this is more like what you're going to see. But when I'm making something that's an interactive slide, I want to be able to see the whole page at once, so that way I can make sure everything fits and looks correct. So when you go after zooming it in, if you want to zoom out so that you can see the whole slide in your one screen, you can do Fit. So within the Zoom tab here, you can just zoom out till you see everything. If you hit Fit, it will resize it so you see the whole page. So now I have a blank canvas and I can make my worksheet in whatever way I want. So I'm going to make a worksheet for my students as they learn about the digestive system and different human body systems. So I always like to start with some sort of header or title up at the top. So I can insert word art, or I can just insert a text box. I like to insert word art for titles just because it gives me more power to play with the design of it. So I'm going to go to Insert, Word Art, and then type my text. So the first half of this worksheet is all about the digestive system. So I'll type that. And you can see it puts it on your slide as the simple theme font, which is usually Arial. And it's colored in gray with a thin black outline. So I don't like the formatting of this. So I like to make my titles usually with Luckiest Guy. I like that font. Sometimes I'll use Century Gothic, depending on what I'm making, but let's use Luckiest Guy because I think it just looks good as a title font. So I can reposition this to be up near the top of my document. I want to recolor it because I don't like the gray. So I usually like to go with more colors related to a theme. So I do a lot of blues and greens. So let's make this one green. So now that I have that, I also like to change the thickness of my outline. When you have thicker, chunkier outlines, I just think it's more aesthetically pleasing. So to change the outline of my text here, I go up to the line pencil tool. And I want to make sure I'm on the black line. Or sometimes I'll do kind of a dark gray, but I want this one to have black outlines. And then if I want to change the thickness, I use this border weight tool. And I usually go somewhere around 3 or 4 for round letters. So now I have a nice clear header. And again, this is a word art, so it allows you, if you want to make it thinner, you can drag in, you can play around, make it really long. Obviously, I don't think that's most aesthetically pleasing, but you can play around with it to make it fit. Whereas if this were a text box, you can't play around with the size like you can with word art. All right, so I'm going to have this as my title here. I like it to fill out most of the top line there. And then beneath that, I'm going to put a text box with directions. So I'm going to click on the little text box tool and draw a text box that's pretty much the same width as my header here. So I always say directions to answer the following. I don't know why I said to answer. Answer the following questions on the digestive system. Please review pages 924 through 927 in your textbook. Okay, so I usually like to tell them where they can refer back to, whether it's a YouTube video, their textbook, their notes, to answer questions in a worksheet. So again, this font is Arial. When you make a new text box, I don't like the Arial font, so I'm going to highlight my text and go up to the font tool, and I like to use Century Gothic. I just think it's more aesthetically pleasing. And I like to bold my directions, and I like to make them a little bit bigger to make sure students see them. So I think a size 16 font is pretty good. All right, so now that I have my title and directions, I want to start a new text box, or I could use that same directions text box to type out the questions that I want students to answer. I like to use a new text box just because the formatting is going to be slightly different. I don't want it bold. I might not want the text as big. So I'm just going to start with a blank new text box. Before I even begin typing, I'm going to change the font, and I want to use probably a size 12. That's the size that if I were to print that out, I'd be using. So depending on what I'm doing, if I'm not making it a printable document, I'll do a bigger font, but if it is printable, I'll usually stick around a size 12. All right, so I want to just start typing my questions. So question 1 is, what is the digestive system? Or actually, I'd rather rephrase that. What is digestion? I think that's a better question to start with. I'm going to do another question. What is the digestive system? What is its primary job? So I'm kind of using questions that I know that will be referenced within our textbook, since I told the students to go there. So what is the difference between mechanical and chemical digestion? What is the rate of, or what is the role, of enzymes during digestion? And last question, describe the main steps of digestion. Oops, type it there. Okay, so these are the 5 questions I want to ask them. So now I need to spread them out like you would with any other worksheet that you'd print out so students have some space to write. So between each of these, I'm going to add maybe 3, 4, 5 spaces depending on how much room I think they will need. So I'm just going to hit enter, and you'll notice that because I hit enter, it's going to continue renumbering. So I want to delete that, so I'll backspace that out. And now I'll continue entering. So I did about 3 or 4 there. So I want to do that for all of these. And then I will kind of assess how much room I have left on the page. So clearly, after doing the same amount of spaces between each one, I have a lot of room left. So I can either increase my font size, I can increase the spaces between them. So I think because of the amount of room I have left, I want to do a little bit of both. Especially something that you're keeping digital and not printing, I tend to go bigger on the font size just because these kids are looking at screens all day. You don't want them squinting. I know my students use Chromebooks and they have the smallest, tiniest screens on them. So I'm going to increase the font size to probably 15, 16, which is the same size I used on my directions. And you can see it now fits up the page a lot better. So now what I want to do to actually turn this into an interactive digital worksheet. Right now it's not very interactive. If the kids were to type, start typing an answer, or digestion is blah, 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 and they kept going, it would start pushing everything down off the page. And we don't want that to happen. So I want all of the information that I currently have on the page, the title, the directions, the actual questions, to be locked. I don't want them to move. I don't want the students to be able to edit them, change them, delete them. So unfortunately, Google Slides does not have a mechanism built in to lock parts of your slides. Other platforms, like a PDF, you can make editable, so that way your questions, your directions, students are not able to change. Well, because I've had so much stuff already made in Google Slides, I didn't want to have to convert them into PDFs. So there are a few different ways you can lock information on a Google Slide so students are not able to edit it. The first way is the common way. And if you look this up on YouTube, most people will tell you, you make your background. Now you want to download the slide as a PNG image or a JPEG image, and then re-upload it as the background. This is doable and it works. However, I've had a few challenges using this method because let's say I want to change a question, I want to change the directions, I want to delete a question or add a question. I would then have to go back to the original slide that I was used to download the image and then re-upload it again. Sometimes that slide manages to get lost because you deleted it. So I found that it's quite a task to do it that method, especially when I want to go back and make changes. So I have found an alternative way that allows you to lock pieces of your activity within Google Slides. And the trick is to use Edit Master. So within a presentation, PowerPoint is very similar. It has this feature. It allows you to save templates within a master presentation. So that way you can go into new presentations and use that same template. Well, this allows you to save pieces as background images that you can then go back and edit again, which I really, really like. So the way you want to do this is you don't want to copy and paste. You want to cut and paste all of the information you want to lock. So right now what I have on here is the stuff I want locked. I don't want students to be able to change it. So I'm going to click in the corner and drag across everything that I want to cut and paste. All right, so now that I have all this highlighted, I like to use keyboard commands, but if you right click and do cut, it'll do the same thing. I use Command X. On a PC, you'd use Control X, and it cuts everything. So right now, all the stuff that I just cut is in my clipboard. So to edit master, you go up to slide, and this button down here at the bottom says edit master. This is where we're going to create a template using that background information to create stuff that students cannot access. So I click Edit Master, and this is those text boxes that show up at the very beginning of a slide presentation that you open. So we want to delete these because we're not using them. So I click on them and I delete them. So now I have a nice blank canvas like we started with. So now that I have all that information in my clipboard that I cut, I'm then just going to click on this document and paste them. So I'm doing Command V. And I pasted everything on here. So this still allows me to move things around and edit it. Like right now, I don't like how close the first question is to the directions. So I'm going to drag this down a little bit to make a little bit bigger of a gap. So now all this information, I have the power to change and edit. But if I click out of Edit Master, so using this little X button up here in the corner, I now go back to my page and try to click on any of this stuff, it's unclickable. So unless your students know the Edit Master trick, they are not going to be able to edit any of this information. Now let's say I found a mistake, a typo, or I want to ask just a different question. You go back up to Slide, Edit Master, and boom, you can change and edit any of this stuff that you like. So I find this very powerful because I don't have to, make a slide, download it, re-upload it, then go back and find that slide and make changes if necessary, and then re-download it, re-upload it. It just seems like a tedious process. This is a lot easier, right? So now I want to add a place where my students can type in their answers. So this is where it becomes interactive. You could just print this out and it be a simple worksheet, but students cannot edit it digitally. So the way I like to do this is I add new text box beneath my question. All right, so I try to make it roughly the same size. Sometimes I'll drag this over so it's the same width roughly as the title. And I like to then put in text that says type here. So students know that they are going to type their answer here. So I want to put this in the same formatting. I then like to also make it red text so that way it stands out. I can make it a bigger font or a smaller font, and then students have the ability to then just type within this box. I can also change the color of it if I want to make it stand out more. Sometimes I'll make it a gray box. I think for this one, I just want to keep it white. And then I'm just going to copy and paste that text box and put it in the next one. Do the same thing, copy and paste, put it in the next one. So now for each question, it has its own text box. And you can see that there's plenty of room for students to continue typing. And they have the power to change the font, to change the color, to change the size of the text. So let's say you have a student that goes above and beyond and wants to write a paragraph. They could change the font size smaller to fit more text within this area. All right, so that's one page of our worksheet. Now let's say we want to add a second page where we ask questions about another body system. So over on the thumbnail, I always like to click here and go to Slide, New Slide. So right now it's pulling from the Edit Master layouts. So right now I have text boxes that get auto put on here, but I don't want to use that layout. So I'm going to delete these boxes. I want a blank canvas. So what I want to do to make my next page, I can go right to the Edit Master page and make it there. So I'm going to go to Slide, Edit Master, and I'm going to choose the slide just below the one that I had worked on. So I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to delete what's there. And so I want to do the same thing. I want to put another header. So I'm actually going to copy the word art that I had used on that first page. And then I'm just going to double click on it and change it to say excretory system. And I will recenter it. And then I'm going to basically have the same directions, but so I can copy that direction box. It's just my textbook pages are going to be different. So instead, these pages are 933 through 938. Oops. And I want to say that this is the excretory system. All right, so now I am going to just type my questions. So again, I can copy and paste this text box that I've already used, and now type in the questions that I want. So question number 1, I want it to be, what is the excretory system? What is its primary job? Question 2, I want to be, what organs are part of the excretory system? Question 3, I want to be, how does the excretory system help maintain homeostasis? And then one more question, so I don't need question 5. The last question is, what is the role of the nephrons in the kidneys? All right, so again, just like before, I might add, because I have a lot of extra space, add an extra space between each of these questions. And then, so now that template is all done. So I can click out of Edit Master. But you'll notice that all that information didn't pop up on this slide. So the way we get that page that we just edited within the Edit Master to show up here is we go up to this Layout button. So you'll see that I could pick the layout that we did on the very first page. So it'd be all my digestive system questions again. Or I can pick the excretory system layout. And now, again, if I try to click on any of this information, I cannot edit it. I can only edit it once I'm in that Edit Master. So I want to now add text boxes for students to type in. So I'm going to click and copy and paste these from the previous page. And I'm going to paste a couple of them. So now students can just go ahead and type in these boxes. So anything you want the students to be able to edit should not be on the Edit Master page. Anything that they want to edit should be directly on the actual slide. Only the things you are locking go on the Edit Master page. And so now when you share this worksheet with your students, the only thing that they can do directly on here with the information provided is to type in these text boxes. So I hope you find this little video tutorial helpful on how to make your own digital worksheets, and you're already thinking of how you can apply this to your field and your activities. I will be sharing more videos like this, showing you how to make things interactive and digital within your classroom. Thank you for watching. Make sure that you like, comment, and please subscribe below. If you would like to get notifications about future videos that I post, please make sure to hit that bell. Thanks again for watching.